questions, whispering them, mostly to themselves. Why did he change? Why is he acting like a stranger? Why doesn't he care anymore? But they won't say it out loud, no. They won't admit to the mirror what they did to you, because that would require accountability. And most people would rather drown in confusion than admit they were the reason you turned cold. That silence of yours, that distance, it drives them insane. They don't understand it. You see, they were addicted to your reactions. They got high off knowing they could push you, pull you, play you, and you'd still show up, still call, still stay. But now, you're gone. Not just physically, but mentally, spiritually, emotionally, gone. And that's what shatters people. When someone they once controlled suddenly becomes uncontrollable, unreachable. You're not being mean. You're not being vengeful. You're just done. And that kind of done, that's irreversible. That kind of done doesn't shout. It doesn't scream. It doesn't fight. It just walks away and never looks back. And oh, how they'll feel that every damn day. At first, they'll act like it doesn't matter. They'll laugh, fake it, throw shade, pretend they never needed you. But silence has a funny way of echoing. At 2 a.m., when the world is quiet and the noise fades, your absence will scream louder than anything you ever said. That's when it hits. When their phone doesn't light up with your name. When they scroll and don't see you watching. When they feel something missing, but can't replace it. Because what you gave, it wasn't just attention. It was presence, depth, loyalty. And that kind of energy, it don't come around twice. Not in a world filled with hollow souls and pretty lies. You gave them something rare. And now that you've killed the version of you who handed it out freely, they'll never get it back. Let them feel it. Let them taste what they served. Because some people only learn through absence. Some only understand value when it walks away silently without a warning.
Booking.com has stays for absolutely anyone. Imagine you're a musical-obsessed couple. You book a dazzling hotel in the Big Apple, 5 stars, with a balcony for your big solo. If Broadway buffs can find their perfect stay, anyone can. Booking.com, booking.yeah.
That's the power you hold now. Not in proving yourself, not in justifying your silence, but in letting them live with what they lost. And trust me, the guilt, it festers. It doesn't knock loud. It creeps in slow, quiet, like a ghost in the room they can't get rid of. Every reminder of you becomes a bruise on their pride. And the best part? You didn't have to say a word. All you did was stop being who they abused. But don't think this path is easy. It ain't. Killing the old version of yourself feels like ripping your own skin off. It's painful because that version was comfortable, even if he was broken. He knew how to beg. He knew how to cry. He knew how to stay small just to be accepted. Letting him go means letting go of 1,000 false hopes. 1,000, maybe they'll change, but they won't. They never intended to. Because change was never the plan. They just wanted you to stay soft enough to use. So now, your silence isn't just peace. It's power. It's protest. It's protection. And with it comes evolution. You begin to build a version of yourself that doesn't beg for love, doesn't seek pity, doesn't explain pain. You become calculated, dangerous. Not because you're cruel, but because you finally understand your value. You've become a mirror. And when they look at you now, all they see is the reflection of who they failed, of who they betrayed. And it burns, it eats, it consumes them in places they never knew guilt could reach. But don't go back. Don't dim yourself to comfort the ones who mishandled you. Growth is lonely. But weakness? That's crowded with regret. And here's the twist they never saw coming. You didn't change overnight. No. You were evolving quietly, patiently, while they kept thinking you were still that same broken, loyal fool sitting by the door. Every betrayal, every cold shoulder, every moment they made you feel invisible, it was fuel. It didn't break you. It built you. Pain doesn't just scar people. It forges them. And you started to see everything clearer, didn't you? You saw who they really were. You heard the tone shift, the attention fade, the energy drop. You noticed how they only loved you when you were silent, small, and giving. But when you had needs, when you asked for something real, they vanished. They pulled back. They blamed you. And deep down, you kept hoping they'd return to who they were at the beginning. But they were never that person. That version of them was a mask, a tool, a trick. And when you finally realized that, something inside you snapped. You stopped fighting to keep people who never fought to keep you. You stopped explaining to people who already made up their minds. You stopped asking for the bare minimum. And right there, in that silent decision, you became untouchable. They don't recognize you anymore. And that's the beauty of it. They knew how to hurt the old you. They knew his weaknesses, his buttons, his fears. But this version, this new, cold, calculated version, he's a stranger. He doesn't react the same, doesn't answer the phone, doesn't double text, doesn't shrink himself to fit in places he's outgrown. This version walks different, thinks different, speaks when it's needed, and disappears when it's powerful. And now they're scared. Not because you became violent, but because you became silent. You stripped them of their power the moment you realized you didn't need them to validate your worth. That's the most terrifying thing you can do to people who lived off controlling you. You gave them no closure. No, I'm leaving. You just outgrew them and outgrew the version of yourself they had access to. And trust me, there's nothing more painful than realizing someone you thought you owned now walks like you don't even exist. They'll start watching you, quietly, secretly, maybe through social media, maybe through mutual friends, maybe just by replaying old memories in their mind. But they'll watch, because curiosity is a killer. When someone you underestimated starts to glow in your absence, you became the lesson, the price, the ghost. And they'll never admit it, but they'll wish they could undo what they did. They'll wish they hadn't pushed you that far. But wishes don't fix silence. Regret doesn't rebuild bridges burned in disrespect. And even if they come back, crying, explaining, begging, it won't be for you. It'll be for the version of you they used to control. But he's dead. You buried him under every time they ignored your pain. Every time they acted like your feelings were too much. Every time they made you feel like you were hard to love. You buried him when you finally realized that loyalty means nothing to people who only show up when it's convenient. And now you're loyal to yourself, to your peace, to your growth. That's the version that survives. That's the version that wins. Not because he played dirty, but because he stopped playing at all. You don't need revenge. You are the revenge. Your glow, your silence, your elevation. That's the storm they can't control. The old you would have tried to make them understand, would have written paragraphs, cried late at night, tried to fix it. But this you don't chase, you replace, you don't wait, you walk, you don't explain, you evolve. And that's what kills them slowly. Not your words, but your absence. Not your rage, but your peace. Not your threats, but your transformation. Because people don't break when you fight back. They break when you stop showing up. And you're done showing up for people who wouldn't bleed for you the way you bled for them. Now, protect it. Protect this new identity like it's all you've got. Because it is. You see, once you've killed the old version of yourself, they'll come crawling. Not because they love you, not because they finally see your worth, but because they feel the shift. They feel the absence. They feel the power slipping through their fingers. The silence, it's haunting them. The distance, it's louder than any scream. And the worst part for them, you didn't announce your exit. You didn't slam the door. You didn't burn bridges. You just stopped crossing theirs. And now they're stranded, drowning in everything they refuse to fix. But don't let them pull you back. Don't let their regret disguise itself as love. They don't miss you. They miss the version of you they could abuse without consequence. The one who forgave betrayal like it was normal. The one who smiled through pain. The one who lowered his standards just to feel close to people who never deserved his energy. That version of you, he's gone. And they're not mourning you. They're mourning the control they lost. That's why they'll try to come back. Through nostalgia, through apologies, through manipulation. You've changed. Damn right. You had to. Because staying the same was killing you slowly. And entertaining their chaos was costing you everything real in your life. Your peace, your growth, your future. So what now? Now you move in silence. You work in the shadows. You don't tell them what you're planning. You don't update them about your healing. You just become untraceable. That's the power they can't destroy. A ghost with goals. A shadow with strategy. A soul that sees everything but reacts to nothing. You want to win? Stop seeking revenge. Start building. Build your mind. Build your body. Build your money. Build your peace. And do it all quietly. Because they're watching, waiting, hoping for signs of weakness, hoping the old version of you is still alive somewhere. But he's not. He's ashes. And from those ashes, you don't rise like a phoenix. You rise like something darker, something colder, something they can't read anymore. That's when they lose sleep. That's when they start questioning everything. And that's when you realize the truth. Silence is the revenge. Peace is the revenge. Evolution is the revenge. Because the loudest message you'll ever send is the one you never speak. It's in how you vanish. It's in how you rebuild. It's in how you no longer need them. Not for closure, not for comfort, not for love, not.
Chicken Al Pastor is back at Chipotle, where fire meets flavor. Here for a limited time. Chipotle, for real.
Take the next step in treating your moderate to severe ulcerative colitis with Entyvio, the only gut-focused treatment for
Comfort, not for love, nothing. And let this burn into your bones. They don't deserve access to the new you. That's the consequence. That's the price. You were gold in a world obsessed with glitter, and they chose shiny lies over solid truth. Let them choke on that decision. Let them feel the void. You don't have to show them what they lost. They'll feel it in every fake smile they force around people who don't really care about them. They'll feel it in the emptiness of shallow conversations, in the coldness of people who want what you once gave for free. You were rare, and they gambled you like you were replaceable. But you don't beg to be understood anymore. You don't hand out second chances like coupons. You don't shrink to make others comfortable. You stand, you rise, you walk alone if you have to. And in that silence, your silence, they'll hear every word you never said. They'll remember every time they had access to your soul and treated it like scrap metal. But that's no longer your concern. Your only job now? Stay focused. Stay unbothered. Stay building. Because nothing breaks them faster than realizing you healed and they weren't part of it. And the deeper your silence cuts, the louder their regret begins to scream. But by then, it's too damn late. You see, they didn't think you'd survive without them. They thought you needed their validation to breathe, their presence to function, their approval to feel whole. But here you are, unreachable, unshaken, unrecognizable. And that's what terrifies them the most. They realize they don't know this new version of you. The calmness in your eyes, the steel in your voice, the way you look through people now instead of looking for them. It's all foreign. It's like you've become someone else entirely. But the truth is, you didn't become someone else. You just stripped off everything they used to manipulate you. The self-doubt, the guilt, the trauma responses, the over-explaining, the fear of being alone. You peeled that all off and found the real version of yourself underneath. A version that doesn't beg to be heard. A version that doesn't crumble when left alone. A version that doesn't need to be liked to feel alive. And now you walk like a storm in slow motion. Quiet, calm, but with the weight of destruction behind every step. You don't scream. You don't plead. You don't try to make them see. You just are. That's what makes you dangerous. They thought breaking you would make you easier to control, but it made you harder to access. They thought ignoring you would make you chase, but it taught you detachment. They thought leaving you would make you fall apart, but it taught you how to rebuild with your own hands, alone. That's the thing about pain. It either shatters you or sharpens you. And you used every shattered piece to build a weapon, not to harm them, but to protect yourself from ever falling into that hell again. You became your own shield, your own home, your own peace. And that independence, that's what haunts them now. Because deep down, they know they didn't break you. They awakened you. And people hate that. They hate when the person they hurt comes back healed, not begging, not angry, just gone, just better, just colder. Because cold people don't need warmth from others. Cold people bring their own fire and they never hand it out carelessly again. You're not the same anymore. And that's exactly how it should be. Growth isn't meant to be palatable. It's meant to be earned. And most people who had access to you, they didn't earn it. They stumbled into your heart like a thief who found the vault open, took what they wanted, left when it no longer entertained them. But now the vault's closed. Now there's a lock, a code, a silence so thick they can't crack it. And they'll try. Oh, they'll try. Through nostalgia, through guilt, through fake apologies, but you won't open the door because you learned, you finally learned that love without respect is poison, that presence without loyalty is manipulation, that attention without intention is a trap. And now, you don't fall for traps. You build empires over them. You speak less, move more, think deeper, feel selectively, trust slowly, and love only when it's earned. That's your power now. You're not bitter. You're not broken. You're just better, smarter, sharper, quieter. And nothing unsettles the people who hurt you more than watching you evolve without them. They expect you to retaliate, to explode, to act out, but you don't. You don't even look back. Because when you killed the old version of yourself, you killed every need to explain your worth. You killed the desperation, the constant proving, the emotional dependency. And from that death came rebirth. Not of someone nicer, but of someone realer. Someone who doesn't ask to be loved right. Someone who demands it or leaves. No warnings, no negotiations, just presence or absence. And trust me, they'll feel the weight of that absence for a long, long time.
Turn your kitchen into a restaurant
Ready, chef.
with Kraft Signature Shreds. Amazing melt, rich flavor. Kraft.
And as the days turn into weeks and the silence becomes your second skin, something shifts, not just in them, but in the universe itself. It's like the world starts to align differently around you. Opportunities appear, energy clears. People treat you with a strange kind of caution, like they can sense something has changed, because it has. You're no longer that open wound, walking around, begging for someone to treat it gently. You're a scar now, strong, sealed, silent. The kind of scar that tells a story without speaking a word. You carry a presence now, one that speaks louder than the noise they used to throw at you. You walk into rooms without needing validation. You sit alone without feeling empty. You speak only when it adds value. And most of all, you observe. You watch everything, everyone. But no one really watches you anymore because you've become unreadable, mysterious, unavailable. And that's where your real power lives now, in your unpredictability, in your ability to walk away from anything without flinching. You've reached a place where you no longer beg God to remove the pain. You thank Him for the lesson, because it turned you into someone no one can break again. You've become immune to the very pain that used to ruin you. And that's the final form. That's the evolution they never expected. See, they thought you'd always be stuck in your feelings, crying at night, replaying the conversations, wondering what you did wrong. But that stage, that was necessary. You had to bleed. You had to hurt. You had to fall apart. Because that pain was the funeral. The death of the version of you that kept loving people who only knew how to take. And now you've built a version that's selective, discerning, detached when needed. Not because you're heartless, but because your heart is no longer for sale. You guard your peace like it's gold. You don't explain your silence anymore. You don't chase answers that never come. You've accepted that not everything broken can be fixed, and not everyone who leaves is worth calling back. That maturity, it didn't come from books or movies. It came from betrayal, from being overlooked, from being treated like an option in places where you gave your all. And now you've made peace with being misunderstood. You've made peace with being alone. Because solitude doesn't scare you anymore. In fact, it protects you. It teaches you. It sharpens your instincts. And the ones who once broke you, they can't stand that. They can't stand how peaceful you've become in the same silence they once used to manipulate you. But let's not sugarcoat this. This version of you. It came at a price. You lost people. You outgrew people. You walked away from comfort zones that felt like home, but treated you like a stranger. You buried the old version of you with no ceremony, no goodbyes, no pity. And it was brutal, but necessary. Because in killing the old you, you didn't just evolve, you became sovereign. And that's the real flex. You don't need closure. You don't need revenge. You don't even need them to regret it. You just need you, whole, grounded, unapologetic. You show up different now, not to prove a point, but because your energy doesn't allow you to shrink anymore. And when people ask what changed, you don't even bother explaining. Because the truth is, they were never listening when you did. So now you let them feel it. Let them watch you from a distance. Let them wonder if they ever really knew you at all. Because they didn't. They knew who you were. But this version, this one walks like vengeance dressed in peace. This one loves like fire with boundaries. This one isn't here to be chosen. He chooses. He moves. He builds. He disappears when the energy isn't right, and he never looks back. And that's the real twist, isn't it? You no longer fit in the rooms that once felt like home, because they were never truly home. They were cages dressed in comfort, environments where your voice had to whisper, your strength had to shrink, and your worth had to constantly prove itself just to be tolerated. But now you outgrew it all. The rooms, the people, the conversations, the energy. It all feels too small, too shallow. You step into those same spaces and realize how much you used to bend just to be accepted. How much of yourself you silenced just to keep the peace. But peace that costs your